Melech Haolam, Asher, Kitshanu, Itzivanu, Hitatef, Ba-Tzitzi. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to wrap ourselves in the fringes. Now we turn ahead and sing together, or turn back actually, to 186. 186, Modeh Ani. Please join with me. Modeh Ani lefanecha, melech chai v'kayam, shechazorta b'nishmati b'chem la, Rabba emunatecha. Page 185. Yes, the first reader, please lead us in May the Door. 185.
May the door of this synagogue be wide enough to receive all who hunger for love, all who are lonely for friendship. May it welcome all who have cares to unburden, thanks to express, hopes to nurture. May the door of the synagogue be narrow enough to shut out pettiness and pride, envy and enmity. May the threshold be no stumbling block to young or straying feet. May it be too high to admit complacency, selfish, and harshness. May this synagogue be for all who enter the doorway to a richer and more meaningful life.
Thank you, Hal. Page 192. 192 for Matovu, please join with me. Matovu, Alecha Yaakov, Mishkenotecha Yisrael. Matovu, Alecha Yaakov, Mishkenotecha Yisrael. V'nifrov chastecha avon beitecha. Eshtachave elcha ke'elkachecha v'yiratecha. And with the next reader, page 193, May the 1. Page 193.
May the one whose spirit is with us in every righteous deed be with all who work for the good of humanity and bear the burdens of others, and who give bread to the hungry, who clothe the naked, and take the friendless into their homes. May the work of their hands endure, and may the seed they sow bring abundant harvest.
Thank you, Bruce. Okay. We turn ahead now to the Nisim B'chol Yom, the miracles of the everyday. And I'd like to open up, please, if you have something online to add, please put it in the chat. And those here in the congregation, here in the synagogue, anyone have anything good, a good thing, a good happening, whatever, a happy event? Mazel tov. Anyone else? Yes, and I would like to thank Breaking of the Heat Wave, because it's livable again. Yes, but hey, be grateful for every gift, right? Yes. Anybody else have anything? Okay, good. Then join with me at the page 198. It begins at 198. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan l'chsef bina lechavchin ben yom uben laila. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam bokeach ivrim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam matir asurim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam zokef kifufim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam rokah haaretz al hamayim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamechin mitzadei gaber. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam malbish arumim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam noten le'av koach. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hameir shnei me'anai u'tumah me'afapai. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shesanei b'tselem Elohim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shesanei ben chorin. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shesanei Yisrael. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam ozer Yisrael b'gevura. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam oter Yisrael b'tifara. And the final blessing for Torah, for the Sefer Torah on 204. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah. Amen. Okay, the next reader on page 207. Pass the mic along. Next reader, 207. There are 8 degrees.
There are 8 degrees and given of each of one higher than the one before, to give grudgingly, reluctantly, or with regret, to give less than one should both with grace, to give what one should both, but only after being asked, to give before one is asked, to give without knowing who will receive it, although the recipient knows the identity of the giver, to give without making known one's identity, to give so that neither a giver nor receiver knows the identity of the other, to help another to become self-supporting by means of gifts alone or by finding employment for the ones in need.
Okay, we turn ahead now and join at the top of page 215 and begin with Ashrei. Ashrei, Ashrei Veitecha, Od Yahalalucha Selo, Ashrei Ha'am Shekachalo, Ashrei Ha'am Sheranai Elohav, Ilala David, Aramim Chadonai HaMelech, Avrecha Shimcha Li'olam Va'ed, B'chol Yom Arbachecha, Allah Shimcha Li'olam Va'ed, Gadol Adonai U'Mu'od, Le'ugalukto Ein Cheker, Dor vador yisbach ma'asecha, ugeviratecha yagidu, hadar kavod hodecha, v'divrei niflotecha asicha, v'zuz naratecha yameru, ugulatcha asaprena, zecher rav tuva yabiu, v'tzidkacha yiranenu, kanun v'rachamun, Adonai, Erech Apayim Uroch Hased, Tov Adonai Lecho, Rachamav Al Kol Ma'asov, Yaducha Adonai Kol Ma'asecha, Chasidecha Yevarchucha, Kivod Malchuto Yameru, Guvurata Yadaveru, V'hodia Livnei Hadam Givrata, Vod hadar malchuto, malchutecha malchut kol olamim, memshaltecha b'chol dor v'dor, somech Adonai lecho hanoflim, v'zochef lecho hanoflim, enei koch elecha yisaberu, v'ata noten lachem et achlam bito, poteach et yadecha, Biach lecho chai ratzon, tzadik Adonai b'chol derachav, v'chasid b'chol ma'asav, karo Adonai lecho karo, lecho asher yikre'eu b'yamet, ratzon yire'ov yaseh, v'et Shabbatam yashmid v'yoshien, shomer Adonai et kol havav, Kol Harshim Yashmid, Kehilad Adonai Yidaber Pi, Yivarech Kol Basar Shem Kachel Yalam Va'ed, V'anachnu Nivarech Ya, Me'ata B'yad Olam, Hallelujah. Page 224, please turn ahead to 224 for the Chatzi Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitgadash Shemei Rabo, Yamad Yivracha L'chutei, V'yamlich Malchutei, V'chai Echad U'vyom Echad, U'chayed Echol Beit Yisrael, Bagala, Bagala, Uvidman Gori, Imaru, Amen. Yeheshmei Rabba Mevora, Yolam Olame Olamaya, Yitbarach, Yitbarach, Yishkabach, Yisbar, Yisromam, Yisnaseh, Yisadar, Yisaleh, Yisalah, Shemei Kudashab, Rechu, Le'ah, Min Kol Berchata V'Shirata, Tush B'chata V'Nechemata, Damiram B'Yalama, Imaru, Amen. And please rise for the call to worship on 226. 226. Baruch hu et Adonai HaMevorach, Baruch Adonai HaMevorach, Le'olam va'ed. Praise Adonai, to whom praise is due forever. Praise be Adonai, to whom praise is due, now and forever. Baruch, top of page 228, Yotzer Or. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech olam, Yotzer Or u'vrei Hoshe, Osei Shalom u'vrei et hakol, Hameir la'aretz, L'hadvarim alecha barachami, U'tuvo mechades b'chol yom tamid, Ma'aseh b'reshit, Ma'arabu ma'asecha Adonai, Kulam b'chachma asita, ma'alah ha'oretz kinyinecha, Tivarech Adonai Eloheinu, al Shabbat ma'aseh yadecha, Amore or Chasita Ifaruch Sela, or Chadash Al Zion Tahir, V'nis Kekulanu Mehera La'oro, Baruch Atah Adonai, Yotzer HaMorot. And we turn to page 232. And Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kivod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. Please be seated. Join with me in the Via Havta on page 234 at the top. Via Havta, Adonai Elohecha, V'chol levavcha, V'chol nafshecha, V'chol yedecha, V'hayu advarim ha'eleh, Asher anochi mitzavacha hayam alevavecha, V'shinantam levanecha, V'dibartam bam, V'shivtecha b'veitecha, V'vlechtecha b'derech, V'v'shachvecha V'v'kumecha, V'kshartam liyav V'yadecha, V'hayu l'tatafav b'neinecha, V'tavtam Amuzot b'techa, V'visharecha, Leman tizkaru v'asitem mitzvotai, v'tem kiddushim le'elohechem. Ani Adonai Elohechem, asher hotzeiti etchem mi'eretz Mitzrayim, liot lachem Elohim. Ani Adonai Elohechem. Page 237, if people fall, or life without integrity, whatever the person chooses with the knife, either one.
If people fall, can they not also rise? If they break away, can they not return? The stork in the sky knows when to migrate. The dove and the swallow know the season of return. What human instinct knows the time to turn back? What cue sparks the conscience of the soul? We pray to sense this day anew, attuned to the call of sacred living.
Okay, move ahead, page 239. Let us read in the English responsively. The eternal truth, 239. The eternal truth is that you alone are God, and there is none else. Let them beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. You shall not hate your brother or your sister in your heart. The stranger Why do you crush my people and oppress the poor? Asked God. Praise to God Most High. That leads us into our Song of Freedom, Michamelcha 240. Michamelcha Elim Adonai, Michamelcha Nedor B'Kodesh, Norati Lo Osef Ele, Shira Chadasha Shibu Galilim, Lesimchad Al-Savahayam, Yachad Kulam Hodu, B'yim Lechu B'yamru, Adonai Yimloch Li'olam Va'ed, Sur Yisrael, Kuma B'Ezrat Yisrael, Ufedechem Echa Yehuda V'Yisrael, Go Aleinu Adonai Tzevot Shemo Kedosh Yisrael, Baruch Atah Adonai Gal Yisrael. Please rise as we turn to 242 with Tefillah. Adonai sifatach nifnach ufia gitehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el HaGadol HaGibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'Konei HaKol, V'Zocher Chastei Avot V'Imahav, Umevi Gula Le'Bnei B'neihem, Leman Shemo B'Yava, Melech Ozer Moshiach U'Magen, Baruch Atah Adonai, Magen Avraham B'Ezrat Sarah, Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechayei HaKol Atah, Rav Loshia, Morid HaKal, Mekakel Chaim B'Chesed, Mechayei HaKol B'Rachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim Rofek Oalim, Umatir Asurim, Umchayei Emunato, Lishenei Afar, Michamocha B'Gevurot, Umidam Elach, Melech Memid, Umachayeh, Umatmiach Yeshua, B'ne'emanata Chayot HaKol, Baruch Atah Adonai, Mechayeh HaKol. Page 248, the traditional Kedusha. Michael. Nekadesh. Nekadesh et Shimcha ba'olam, Kishem Shemach Shemo Tel V'Shmei Maram, Kakatuv al Yad Niviecha, V'charoz el Zevi Amar, Kadosh, 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 Adonai Tzevot, Meloko ha'orech, Kivodo, Adir, Adirenu, Adonai, Adonenu Ma'adir, Shimcha b'chol ha'oretz, Baruch Kivod Adonai, Mimkamo, Echad Eloheinu, Hu Avinu Malkeinu, Hu Moshienu v'Hu Yashmienu, Berachamav li'enei kochai, Ani Adonai Elohechem, Yimloch Adonai li'olam, Elohai Yichtiyam, L'dor v'dor, Hallelujah. L'dor v'dor nagid Gad lecha, U'lenetzach netzachim kedushaka nakdish, V'shivchacha leheinu mipenu lo yamush, Li'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el join me on 250 with Yismachu. Yismachu b'malachutacha, shomrei, 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 Shabbat, korei, onei, Shabbat. Yismachu b'malachutacha, shomrei, 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 Shabbat, korei, onei, Shabbat. Am mekadesh bi Shabbat, kulam yishmeru v'yitamru mitu v'cha Shabbat. Yismachu b'malachutacha, shomrei, 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 Shabbat, korei, onei, Shabbat. V'hashpi, v'tzita b'v'gidashto Shabbat, Chemdat Yamim, Oto Karata Shabbat. Yismachu b'malachutacha, shomrei, 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 Shabbat, korei, onei, Shabbat. Zecher l'maseh Bereshit Shabbat. Zecher l'maseh Bereshit Shabbat. Yismachu b'malachutacha, shomrei, 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 Shabbat, v'korei, onei, Shabbat. The next reader on 251, we are a people.
We are a people in whom the past endures, in whom the present is inconceivable without moments gone by. The Exodus lasted a moment enduring forever. What happened once upon a time happens all the time. A thought has blown the marketplace away. There is a song on the wind and a joy in the trees. Shabbat arrives in the world, scattering a song in the silence of the night. Eternity utters a day.
Okay, we turn ahead now and read together. We offer thanks on 253. 253. We offer thanks, O God, for this Shabbat, which unites us in faith and hope, for Shabbat holiness, which inspires sacred living, for Shabbat memories, glowing even in darkness, for Shabbat peace, born of friendship and love. We offer thanks and blessing, O God. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh Shabbat. Okay, the next reader, please turn to page 256 in the middle and the bottom of the page on 256. We acknowledge. The next reader.
We acknowledge with thanks that you are Adonai, our God and the God of our ancestors forever. You are the rock of our lives and the shield of our salvation in every generation. Let us thank you and praise you for our lives which are in your hand, for our souls which are in your care, for your miracles that we experience every day, and for your wondrous deeds and favors at every time of day, evening, morning, and noon. O good one, whose mercies never end, O compassionate one, whose kindness never fails, we forever put our hope in you. For all these things, O sovereign, let your name be forever praised and blessed. O God, our Redeemer and Helper, let all who live affirm you and praise your name in truth. Blessed are you, Adonai, your name is goodness, and you are worthy of thanksgiving.
Baruch atah Adonai, atov simcha l'chonai Okay, we'll turn ahead now and with a beautiful soprano voice It's not made for a bass voice, but it is for soprano and tenor. Sim Shalom, page 258.
Sim Shalom Tova Uvraha. Sim Shalom Tova Uvraha. Sim Shalom Tova Uvraha. Chen v'chesed, chen v'chesed v'rachamim. Chen v'chesed, chen v'chesed v'rachamim. V'rachamim. Sim shalom. Tova uvraha. Sim shalom. Tova uvraha. Aleinu ve'al chol Yisrael. Aleinu ve'al chol Yisrael. Ameha. Sim shalom. Tova uvraha. Sim shalom. Tova uvraha.
Thank you, Chase. Okay, we pause for a moment of silent and personal meditation, whether it's in the pages following 258 or your own personal meditation, and we will finish with Ose Shalom on page 260. Ose Shalom Bimrama. Ose Shalom Aleinu. Yal Kol Yisrael. Imru, Imru, Amen. Yase Shalom. Yase Shalom. Shalom Aleinu. Yal Kol Yisrael. Yase Shalom, Yase Shalom, Shalom Aleinu. Ve'al kol Yisrael yimeru. Amen. Turn ahead now to the Kriyat Torah for Shabbat, the reading of Torah for the Sabbath morning. It can be found on page 360, the middle of 363. Page 360, please rise. Assemble the people, men, women, and children, and the strangers in your city, to hear, to learn, to revere Adonai your God, to observe faithfully the words of this Torah, and let their children who do not yet know it hear, that they too may learn to revere your God. Page 364. Michael. King of Moab. And Balak is the second word in verse 2 of chapter 22. It appears on page 1173 in our Chumash. There's two simple topics in this that are discussed, two main topics. One, of course, is very, well, both are very famous. The story of King Balak and his so-called hired non-Israeli prophet, soothsayer Balaam, which takes up much of the set. But also mentioned is Israel begins to sin with the people of Moab. And then there's a question and issues brought forth by Phineas, his act, which we'll discuss. And it's his reward for that act and various moral issues with that. These will be discussed in a few moments. First of all, would anyone like a special aliyah today for the blessing? Anybody at all? Anybody want to step up? No? Oh, come on, Jason. Baruch Adonai Hambarach Le'olam Va'ed. Okay, now, if you like to follow along, Michael as he chants, he'll be chanting in Numbers chapter 22, starting at verse 28, on page 1175 in your Umash.
Vayiftach Adonai et pi ha'aton, vatomer levil'am me'asiti lecha, ki hikitani ze shalosh regalim, vayomer bil'am la'aton, ki hit alalet bi lu yesh cherev biyadi, ki ata harakti, vatomer ha'aton el bil'am halo anohi atoncha asher rachavta alai me'odcha ad hayom hazeh hahaskein hiskanti la'asot lecha ko vayomer lo.
We have the Torah in our midst. We move on to page 371 in Mishabera. And no. It has a mind of its own. Do this will keep it. We'll have to not give it dessert.
All right, 371.
Just and unfortunately, the current Mishnah Beirach list is a lengthy one. Unfortunately, we have Sandra Goldman, mother of Judy Richter, Lisa Egger Brown, Joan Major, Barbara Savage, Chris Cheney, Vivienne Levine, Eileen Lesser, Efrat Israela Bat Adina Bishalev, Leo Stevenson, Rob Zabel, Alice Oppenheimer, Stuart Edinger, Philip Lutz, Jerry Dreskin, Yochanan Ben Yehuda, Richard Foley, Merrill Green, Janet Katz, Joe Wright, Libby Barsky, Carol Levine, Judy Winogrand, Bob Epifano, Malcolm Fletcher, Ellen Bartuglia, Mindy Fisher, Kayla Hanabat Aden Leib Vimanasya Leah, Marlene Gratchen, Harry Greenberg, Nick Bod, Deb Nielsen, Moshe Ben Elizabeth Theodore, Jennifer Ness, Harriet Eisenberg, Carla Tech, Chaim Ben David, Eileen Davidson, Craig Davidson, Hugh Morton, Art Bond, Berta Levine, Jordan Steinberg, Jeff Schaefer, Carol Schaefer, Michael Infante, Gary Garner, Rich Ulrich, Eliana Cohn. I would like to add George Bishop and Lois and Murray Moskowitz and Bronna and David Glasserman and all those who suffer from violence both in the Middle East and Ukraine and elsewhere, and here at home as well. Anyone else? If you have a name to add online, please do so in the chat. Those here in the congregation can rise, and as I point to you, you can give your name.
Becky, O'Meara, Elizabeth, and Lawrence Bioy.
BBs.
Joel Brewster, Martin Brewster, Bill Harley,
Okay, then we'll sing together with Chase on page 371, middle page, Misha Beirach.
Misheberach Avotenu Mekor Habraha Leimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Misheberach imotenu mechor habracha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
Wait while we dress. Okay. Good. Okay, we turn now to the prophetic reading following the Torah, which can be found in your Chumash on page 1272. And it's from the prophet we don't hear as much from, but it's important. It's from the prophet Micah. It's coming from chapter 5, starting at verse 6. The prophet was an 8th century prophet, 8th century BCE. It's a contemporary of Isaiah. And the connection between the connection with the Torah is found in chapter 6, verse 5, where there's actual reference to the Balak Balaam story on page 1274, chapter 6, verse 5. The actual message is God's beneficences, or his kindness and his caring for the people. And the prophet is saying, yeah, okay, bring sacrifices, yeah, I'll do that. But it's more important, at least, to give what he calls a changing of the heart. Turn your heart, better actions, better behaviors in life. And we find the famous quote, which Sam will read during the Haftarah, which is chapter 6, verse 8, also on page 1274. And on page 372, we can find the blessing before Haftarah. Please join with me. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher ochar b'nim doim rasa v'direm hanemerim emek. Baruch atah Adonai habocher haTorah u'Moshe avdo u'Yisrael amo u'beniyei ha'emet ha'tzedek. Again, you can find this on page 1272.
The remnant of Jacob shall be in the midst of the many peoples, like dew from the Lord, like droplets on grass, which do not look to any man, nor place their hope in mortals. The remnant of Jacob shall be among the nations, in the midst of the many peoples, like a lion among beasts of the wild, like a fierce lion among flocks of sheep, which tramples wherever it goes and rends with none to deliver. Your hand shall prevail over your foes, and all your enemies shall be cut down. In that day, declares the Lord, I will destroy the horses in your midst and wreck your chariots. I will destroy the cities of your land and demolish all your fortresses. I will destroy the sorcery you practice, and you shall have no more soothsayers. I will destroy your idols and the sacred pillars in your midst, and no more shall you bow down to the work of your hands. I will tear down the sacred posts in your midst and destroy your cities. In anger and wrath I will wreak retribution on the nations that have not obeyed. Hear what the Lord is saying. Come present my case before the mountains, and let the hills hear you pleading. Hear, you mountains, the case of the Lord, you firm foundations of the earth, for the Lord has a case against his people. He has a suit against Israel. My people, what wrong have I done you? What hardship have I caused you? Testify against me. In fact, I brought you up from the land of Egypt. I redeemed you from the house of bondage. I sent before you Moses, Aaron, and Miriam. My people, remember what Balak, king of Moab, plotted against you, and how Balaam, son of Beor, responded to him. Recall your passage from Shittim to Gilgal, and you will recognize the gracious acts of the Lord. With what shall I approach the Lord? Do homage to God on high. Shall I approach him with burnt offerings, with calves a year old? Would the Lord be pleased with thousands of rams, with myriads of streams of oil? Shall I give my firstborn for my transgression, the fruit of my body for my sins? He has told you, O man, what is good, and what the Lord requires of you, only to do justice and to love goodness and to walk modestly with your God.
Thank you, Sam. Thank you, Sam. Beautiful. Okay, join with me on page 372 with the blessing after Torah at the middle of the page, after Haftarah. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, tzur kol haolamim, Tzaddik b'chol hadorot, el haneman, omer v'aseh, hamdaber v'kayeh, shekol devarav emet v'tzedek, al haTorah, v'al avodah, v'al avim, v'al yom haShabbat hazeh, shenatata lanu, Adonai Eloheinu, l'kedusha v'linucha, b'chavod u'kefaret. Ala kol Adonai Eloheinu, anachnu modim la, umvarchim otah, yitbarach shimcha, b'fi kol chai tamid y'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai, mekadesh haShabbat. Amen. Now we move on, and I turn the mic over to our esteemed person here, Hal, to go deeper into the Torah items.
Shabbat shalom. First, I have to clear some of this. Question. Prophet, sorcerer, saint, or sinner? Will the real Balaam please stand up? There's been a lot of questions. This is probably one of the most important passages in Numbers because of Balaam. Here was a non-Jew who was asked to curse the Jews as they were approaching to cross into Canaan. They had completed their 40-year journey and were on the cusp of coming home. But the king of Moab was very afraid that in doing so, the Israelites would wipe out not only the Moabites, but also the Midians. And he asked Balaam, pleaded with Balaam, to come and curse the Israelites so that they would not do that. This happened twice he had to request Balaam to come. The first time, Balaam consulted with our God and was told, don't do it. The second time, he again consulted with God and was told, go ahead, but you will express my wishes as going forward. And the story goes on, and in fact, the part that was read today was about the Balaam riding on the back of his jackass, who ended up swerving out of the way because he saw an angel of God. And he wasn't allowed to pass until the angel of God got in an agreement with Balaam that he would only speak what God told him to speak. And of course, there's the talking of the jackass who said, why did you beat me? And trying to place guilt upon Balaam, God spoke through the jackass. But when Balaam then finally met with Balak, they went to 3 different hills. 3 different times Balak said, curse the Israelites. And instead, Balaam blessed the Israelites because that's what the Eternal told him to do. And it's interesting then to understand here was a non-Jew who was told by our God to bless the Israelites. So again, was he a prophet? Because he also expressed how the Israelites would be moving forward. Was he a sorcerer? Because that's why he was called upon by Balak to come. Was he a saint? Because he expressed God's words and helped the Israelites? Or in the end, was he a sinner? Because it has been expressed not in this parsha, but in the next parsha, that he was responsible for encouraging the women of that were conquested and brought back to entice the Israelite men into, let's just say, uncomfortable deeds as God saw it. And God started a plague because of it. Now what's interesting is, was he the sinner? Because it didn't come up in this parsha. It comes up in another parsha as said by someone else. It's not something that he directed. So there's a lot of questions about who was the real Balak. It's also interesting to note that there is also a opinion that the story itself may not be true. That it in fact may be the repeat of a dream that was had by Moses. Because there's a number of similar elements that have come through from Balak that can relate back to other activities that Moses has accomplished or brought forth over the 40 years. And it's a very interesting treatise that has been proposed by a number of rabbis, and they've picked apart certain items that are very similar. There's also a question that's been raised that Balak was so important in the course of history of the Jews that there was actually a book of the Torah was labeled at one time Balak. And he was actually one of the 5 books until the writings of Deuteronomy came in and replaced that book. So here again, he was held in high esteem, but was he a prophet, a sorcerer, a saint, or a sinner? And he seems to fit all these roles. And is that acceptable to Jewish philosophy and to Jewish history? That's what I would open up to the discussion today to see where it leads. And I'm looking for comments, please. Ivan. Somebody give Ivan the, no, you can talk through that so everybody can hear you. It's on.
I'll start with my puzzlement about how God talks to a non-Jew. And I had always thought that it was Moses and maybe Aaron that God would even talk to or appear to. And now he appears to a non-Jew. And I don't know, I think I would need rabbinic help to answer the question. But in the meantime, Balaam is a non-Jew with a belief in the Israeli, in the Jewish God. He says, I will only say what God tells me to say. For a non-Jew, this was very strange, but very honest. And just to go on, I had thought about this for a while. I was thinking how the truth will come out eventually. Your conscience gets the best of you. You're supposed to curse them, but now you're going to bless them. And the only thing I can think of is a poor example, but Mike Pence was the Vice President of the United States. Trump was going to break his neck if he okayed the election, and out comes the truth. Sometimes you can't keep the truth hidden.
Before you do, Michael, one interesting part is that Balaam is famous, I guess you could use the word, for putting certain words together that have become part of our prayers every day. The words, O Jacob, your dwellings, O Israel. How fair are your tents, O Jacob, your dwellings, O Israel. Right. Every day. And those are the words that he spoke as he was looking over the tents of Israel for the third time. So he's become quite a bit part of our everyday prayers. Michael, please.
So in the Was It All a Dream Sequence column, this story does feature a talking donkey, which does not happen very often in the Torah, maybe not at all. So in the possible dream sequence column, I put that there. In the Was He a Prophet column, I mean, God did communicate directly with him, and he did repeat the words that were directly communicated. That's pretty much the definition. It doesn't really matter how those words got to him, even by a donkey. For me, I like the passage because I don't know, I feel like it's a little moral on hubris. Balaam is mad at the donkey because he thinks he knows better. Donkey, what are you doing, trying to veer off the road? The donkey says, are you not the one who's been sitting on me all these years? Maybe there should be a little bit more trust between you and your donkey. Maybe I would only do this for a good reason. And then Balaam sort of realizes, oh, right, you have never steered me off the wrong path before. And then, yes, it goes on to, he does listen, understand, listen to the angel, the messenger.
Right.
So I guess part of the, sinner part is in that initial hubris of Balaam to not take more notice of these signs that are before him, like his donkey talking.
Could it be that the sinner part was something that was fabricated just to take away some of the importance of Balaam's previous deeds? Since the only time it really comes up is, like I said, in the following parsha, spoken by someone else. Now, of course, this parsha ends with the statement about the Moabite women seducing the Israeli men, and God is very upset at this, and a plague comes about that kills more than 100,000 Israelites because of what they did. I find that would not be something that we would take lightly. As I talked about, is it real or is it a dream? That sounds like it follows through on other activities that God has taken in previous parshas when the Israelites have strayed away from His commandments. So you start to, again, put certain things together, and again, who was the real Balaam? I'm looking through my notes to Jan Orbach, who is director of the Block Kohler Center for Spiritual Arts, is the one who postulates about whether is one of the ones who postulates about whether it was a dream. One of the ways that she looked at it, Balaam comes from a group called Pitor. Pitor, a word used for dream interpretation. Sort of like what Joseph did when he was asked to interpret the dreams of the Egyptian ruler. Another example was that Moses had long resisted the prophetic role because of his difficulty in speaking. Well, here was another prophetic role that came from a donkey. Could it have been something that in Moses' mind was the way to bring forth words? So, and it goes on, there's a few more things about that were in common. So there's still as Jewish people who get together will do, to get together with three ideas. So we have a mixture of quite a bit of discussion, and that's why I say it's probably one of the most talked about parshas because of Balaam and his role in Jewish history. Anybody have anything else that they'd like to add? Oh, sure. Please, Audrey.
Yeah, I'm going to go off the subject because I think one of the things that I was most impressed was the last part of the whole Haftorah.
Mm-hmm.
Those are beautiful lines that we say otherwise, other times, only to do justice, to have goodness, and to walk modestly with your God. That's something that I've heard before. So.
Yes. Thank you. Ivan, you had something else? Make your way. Yes.
I love the story about the jackass, and my immediate reaction, not very thoughtful, is even a stupid jackass knows God when he sees him blocking the way. And mankind doesn't begin to see that. And then it's set there as a reminder to Balaam, you better say the right thing, because all of a sudden his eyes open, and now he sees the angel of God in front of him as well. And it does do the trick. It wakes him up. So sometimes from the strangest sources, maybe someone who you consider less learned than you reminds you of the proper things to do. I just think it's a wonderful story, and we could talk about that for the whole.
Yes.
Well, they're one of my favorite animated films.
Of course.
This is, of course, Shrek. I've seen it a number of times.
Yeah.
And I just think they're, a donkey is a very humble beast of burden. And I've had some notes too. And horses symbolize wealth, royalty, and militarism. And donkeys, again, they're humble beasts of burden and commerce. And also, it's the Jewish people are the other. And in Shrek, and well, Balaam did this under duress, and in the film, Shrek was very antisocial. He was very surly, and the character who, well, John Lithgow played did the voice, but he forced all these, I guess, disabled and other people into Shrek's swamp, and then he forced Shrek to go on this quest, and that's another, that principle of the quest is also something that's in a number of literary pieces. And the donkey,
Eeyore.
well, the donkey, in Shrek, but also Eeyore, and again, very humble and self-effacing, and the donkey eventually, I guess, I don't know whether you want to, humanizes or civilizes Shrek, and then there's this woman who has this huge secret that is revealed in the film, and it's just, I've always found it, and that Shrek is green, and green has sort of a sinister, I guess in these types of epics, has sort of a sinister connotation, and this is just a very, there's just so much in this parsha. There's the way the tents are arranged in the Hebrew camp to try and provide a modicum of privacy for everybody, and then Moses doesn't appear in this parsha at all.
Correct.
The coach benches him, and because of his misconduct in the previous week's parsha, and then it ends on a rather, I guess been told or heard that there's, I guess, in most parshiot, an attempt to end it on a positive note, although not always. And this is certainly one that does not end on a positive note, and will be dealt with more fully in future weeks. Pinchas taking the law into his own hands and killing the couple who are
Sinners.
showing a serious lack of decorum. So this is such a rich parsha, and there's so much to be learned. And again, you have a monarch who does not want the Jewish people in his midst and and suffers some severe consequences on account of it.
Thank you, Sam. Anybody else? Larry, I think you had.
Yes, for me, this whole parsha shows the vastness of the mind of God, because God can do whatever Adonai wants to, right? And make things happen that humans cannot. But it's not so much, for me, the actions and what happens. It's what is the message for us? What do we need to heed in this?
What's interesting is that there is many instances of animals knowing ahead of time when things are going to happen long before us merely humans do. They have a different sense of being which God has given them, and sometimes we don't respect that enough. But that being said, I think this parsha, as Sam said, is loaded, and there are many treatises on different pieces of it, as there are on many other parshas, or on all other parshas. And I'd just like to thank you all for participating. Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you, Sam. Thank you, Hal. And thank you, Sam. Thank you all for participating and for Hal for leading us in this. Okay. Okay, we will move on to the conclusion of our service, concluding part, with the Eitz Chaim, the return of Eitz Chaim, the tree of life, to the ark, where it's on page 374. And Michael, if you would give it to me. Page 374. Everyone, please rise. turn now to those who recently or in years past are no longer with us. And we will conclude with the Kaddish, which is on 598, page 598. And today, unfortunately, we remember the recent deaths of Alan Levinson, a longtime former congregant. I personally worked with him for many years. What a good person he was. And Joan Byram, a dear friend of Marlene Kaplan. We also recall the yard sites for this week. If anyone has a name to add online, please do so. We remember the yard sites of Jules Abeloff, Richard Farino, Isidore Gittler, Gail Goldstein, Sybil Grossman, Nathan Kavitsky, Evelyn Krantz, Crawford Lesser, Dorothy Lipson, Lillian Litz, Belle Osler, Zelda Rosen, Mary Rubin, Doris Shafton, Rebecca Slutteroff, Stanley Smith, Stephen Trombecki. And at this time, if anyone would like to add a name here in the sanctuary, please do so. Okay. I'd just like to remember those who have lost in the senseless violence going on right now throughout the world. We rise now in congregation and remember them with the words of the Kaddish 598. Yiskadav Yiskadash Meiraba Galma Yivrcha Kirite Ram Afuchre V'chayachon V'chayachon Uvchaye Yachol Israel B'chava Karim Imru Amen Yehei Shmei Rabba Yalam Mei Alamai Yitbarach Vishtabah Yisboar Yisramam Yisnaseh Yisadar Yisaleh Yisalah Shmei Kedusha Brichu Le'elah in Kol Berchata V'shirata Tush B'chata V'nechamata Damiran Yalava V'imru Amen Yehei Shloma Rabba Min Shemai V'chayim Aleinu Yal Kol Yisrael V'imru Amen Oseh Shalom B'imrama Hu Ya'aseh Shalom Aleinu Yal Kol Yisrael V'imru Amen. Be seated, please. Okay, at this point, the only Hodayot that I have is for a week from tomorrow. The rummage sale will start at approximately, I think, 9 a.m. on the 28th, which is next Sunday. We're still collecting things in the social halls, you probably saw, and more things will be accepted. If you have any questions, please contact the office for more information on it. Any other Hodayot? Any other